sound all good in your headphones?
My headphones are fine, yeah. We're just going to be
cool.
so we're just going to be talking, obviously. So this, yeah, no music.
Like, turn the music up in my headphones.
Yo, engineer.
We actually brought you here to do like
The vocal, yeah.
fire in the booth.
Oh yeah, all right. I see what you lot done. You know me too well, innit?
Did you ever MC back in the days?
I didn't, you know, man. I'm really bad at remembering lyrics, to be honest. So I never was great at MCing. But could remember like key ones though, like a few key ones, like a few key sort of lyrics from certain MCs or like artists. But like
for sure.
in general, like not good.
Dude, I remember one time at Student University, we booked Groove Rider to play, and I was MCing for like my mate who was opening for him, and I just jumped on Groove's set, and he like Groove kicked me off. Yeah, I was like 18, I was 19.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's like your MCing sound like? Give us a taste.
Just like
Hey.
just super fast bars. Just like
that fast bars, isn't it?
Do you remember the bars?
I really don't.
That would be fucking hilarious.
Dude, yeah, I was fully into it. I got some embarrassing like cassettes somewhere.
That's
My
amazing,
friends
bro.
do. Yeah. Welcome, Benny. Jack
Yes.
Beats in the building.
Yeah.
To Night Bass HQ. This is Night Bass Energy with myself, Sinden, and your boy.
Your boy AC. We're back.
Back
with
in
Benny.
business.
Back in business.
UK
with
is in
Benny.
the house. This is our first UK guest.
Is it?
Yeah,
All right.
I believe so.
2-1, mate.
Yep.
Let's get the British questions going, innit?
Represent the United Kingdom.
Yeah. So is it you're based over here, or you're kind of based back and forth?
Yeah, pretty much living out here now.
Yeah.
The studio sort of still is, but was in London. But I'm sort of trying to set one up here at the moment as well. But
Trying to bring all the gear out.
yeah, you know, guys know what it's like setting up just a lab anywhere. But
Yeah.
sort of just laptoping it at the moment, man.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been setting up a studio for about 20 years. It's not ready yet. Working on it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what is it? What is it about? I mean, you've always been touring out in the States. Like I feel like you've always spent a lot of time out here. What's the kind of appeal for you? Like what's the draw?
We were just fortunate, I guess, like with the Jack Beats project. Anyway, just LA and a few other cities in America just sort of took us on board, like early days as well as London. So we started coming out here quite early, and then sort of not just to LA, but then into other parts of America. And just we've always had a strong fan base out here, I guess, and now it's predominantly sort of North American and other sort of territories as well. So, but North America is a big sort of part of it now. So yeah, it's I'm based here, and it's just that we've always had a good touring life here, man. So as you guys also know, do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, just out here and enjoying it, do you know what I mean? And just always have been just enjoying sort of the sort of stateside, you know. I'd always come out here and stay for endless times, basically.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So through the years.
Yeah, it's been a real attraction, especially for the Brits.
Yeah.
You know, we love it over here.
Yeah.
Like you, I mean, I was touring similar time, and you know, we'd run into each other over here, which was super cool.
Yeah, all of us. I mean, we knew each other from London, really, I guess, innit? In sort of 2000s.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
that era, for I guess, and we similarly, me and you, AC, innit? A bit later in the 2000s, whatever, but.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I was always over in the UK.
Exactly, yeah.
And you were always over here.
Yeah, you were spending a ton of time in the UK.
Yeah, Tomb lot over east all the time, innit?
Yeah, I used to spend a lot of time there touring and just hanging out, working with people and, you know, absorbing the UK music and scene.
Yeah, we all crossed paths a lot of those sort of times, I guess, innit? Because when London was like bubbling, sort of 2006, 7, 8, 9, innit? When that sort of era was really just like good, like interesting shit going on in like London. So and it was cool. I forgot we were. Well, remember we were just through like 6, 7, 9 and all sorts of projects or whatever. But you were out there all the time as well, which was like, yeah, it's a wicked time, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's talk about London, man, because let's rewind a bit as well, because Where did you grow up, man? You're London based, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, born in like North London. Went to school there. And yeah, pretty much spent most of my life, and went to university for 3 years out of London, but still was in London most of that time anyway. So yeah, from the age of like whenever to, I guess, started touring in like late 1920, 21. Then after that, I was still based in London really. And then once you start touring and it takes off, then I just felt like I was on the road the whole time really anyway. But London was always my home, yeah, for a long time. And everything about what I've always done is just because of London, really. Not because of London in that sort of way, but like, you know, you draw from your home influence. Musically, it's very strong in London and always has been. So I draw so many sort of, you know, reference points from my upbringing, basically.
And I can see it, you know, in all the music and everything.
Yeah,
but
you can hear what samples we go for. We know each other really well, so you know that my history.
Know what always fascinates me is, when did you first start going to raves? Like, when was your first rave? Because you have a lot of amazing memories of like the kind of early years of like the golden era.
Well,
all that.
Yeah, sort of quite a long time ago. So like really, like I was my first sort of entry point was like listening to pirate radio stations when I was, you know, even 8, 9, 10. I remember my brother was older; he's like 2 years older, so I was getting that from him. So my entry point, I guess, was like going to raves. I went to my first, actually went to it, Orange at Astoria in London. There's a club called Astoria. I went to an Orange rave there, and that was like 93, 94, roughly. I think it was like a New Year's, I don't know, a bit hazy. I can't remember what it was, but
it's not that long ago.
And then I basically started raving around that time. So like early-ish to mid-90s, that was 93, 94. I went to clubs like loads of like rave clubs at the time, like Labyrinth, Dreamscapes, World Dances, every World Dance at the time, down Lid airports and UK, London ones, and then raving in jungle places as well, from all sorts of jungle, you know, there's that whole jungle fever era when there was like Voodoo Magic and this and all sorts of jungle events that we would like try and get to too. And so 90s raving really was when I first started, you know, got that bug and just went for it, and was just like, it was just a magic time in London. London was crazy then.
I was like living vicariously through tape packs.
Yeah,
at that point.
Same. I was about to say that.
Yeah, I was in the suburbs, so I was, and also I felt like I was not old enough to attend some of the raves. I had all the flyers on my bedroom wall.
Yeah.
I was going to record stores and like grab flyers, but
Yeah.
I was totally the tape packs.
The tape packs, for me, it was like, I've always loved like the UK music.
Yeah.
Whatever I could get my hands on. This is kind of like pre-internet or like early days of internet, where it was like information, not really much music, really low quality music. And then I would order tape packs. You would mail like a money order. I forget how I even ordered it, but you would get the pack in the mail, like Dreamscape or whatever like party it was. And the plastic pack, and you'd open up and there'd be like 8 or 12 tapes in there of the whole night, and I would listen to it and be like, you hear the horns and the whistles and the MCs and the crowd, and it was just like this amazing vibe, and I just imagined what it would be like to be there, and you were there.
For sure.
Awesome.
Now I do feel lucky for that, all those times, you know, like I went to school in Edmonton, and I was literally next door to Lee Valley Trading Estate, where Roller Express was like one of a rave venue in London, which became quite legendary. We held lots of stuff, and was just North London had lots of stuff. Really, there was all sorts of, I mean, all parts of London really. But I was really thrown, because of where I grew up, right into it, right by Tottenham, right by all of like different places. You know, in surrounding me, from Hackney was quite close, and all different parts where rave was blowing up. And
this was like a golden era as well. Like I feel like
for sure. I just think my age was just lucky enough to span a few different like parts of the 90s. You know, the sort of the early rave part, and then I got into jungle and raved all of jungle and stuff like that. And then a bit later on started, as we matured a bit more, you know, there's Forward and all the other places, Swerve and Movement and all the jungle stuff and all the alternative beat stuff as well. And then I was part of my location when West London, when I moved to West, with all the Bugs lot, and so that scene as well. But it's still all central to like London-based stuff, I guess. You know what I mean? Music, really. And so,
and describe the feeling at the rave. What was it like what was the spirit
Man,
of those raves?
You guys obviously have been down loads of wormholes too. I'm sure on
Yeah,
YouTube,
yeah.
and I spent so many hours just looking at all the old sort of security cams and all the footages and all sorts of raves that I've been to and didn't get to, but you can now see and stuff, and you just see exactly what it was at the time. It was just we used to go there, obviously go there and do drugs, whatever your fancy was, but it's predominantly based around ease and all that. So the vibe is just. It's just the inhibitions are there. Like nobody cares what
no
people
cell
are doing.
phones either.
No, obviously
Just
no
like
cell phones.
Mad dancing.
Of course, we didn't.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
had a few of us had a few phones because some few people might either be selling shotting stuff or like people had phones for like specific
Right.
purposes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But really, hardly anyone had phones. And when you took it into the rave, it wasn't to use really. Like if you lost your friend, you weren't looking to call them or text them and that sort of. But that was the obvious that the phone side. But just you can see that everyone's got. They feel like that no one's ever going to be able to see what they're doing ever again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
amazing. Like, and that was like that. We would go there and just lose ourselves and lose your friends, or just like the classic. You have rave experiences, but like with Jungle, it became different because it was really, really about sort of the music and dubplate culture and all the rest of it. So it became very, just about every single tune that every DJ was playing, and like everyone knew all the music, so it got very like nerdy, and it was just an amazing time for the music too.
So do you feel like the shift into jungle brought about like people like being like wanting to know what the DJ was playing more?
Yeah, definitely. Like we would go and we would be like, when is hopefully Hype going to play? I don't know, Peace, Love and Unity or whatever what was the dub at the time, or that we knew or that we'd heard on Cool or whoever the DJ we were all going there. Brocky, we'd heard his set. We'd go and see the tunes that we'd heard on Sunday night with that or whatever, and we just all knew the tunes, and it was sort of different. Yeah, it was you just kind of sort of sumped that part of that culture. It was really like so innocent at the time. It felt, do you know what I mean? Like just that counterculture, which you don't really get so much now. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, man, it was like I just feel like really blessed to have been part of like all of what. The rave time in the 90s that I did, because it was just, it was mad. Magic will never happen again in sort of, the modern style.
Right,
Do you know what I
right,
mean? But
right.
Is that experience what made you kind of want to get involved in music, or how did that spark in your head?
Yeah, in a certain way, I guess. But I was musical before I played. I guess grew up learning instrument, the violin for a long time. For many years as a kid, like pre-teens basically, and then it got to teens, learned guitar. So I went to a musical school, so music was really part of like growing up and all sorts. So I guess like all of us, you're not sure whether music's going to be the career choice, but I definitely knew I wanted to do something different. You know what I mean? Or just like, and from an early age, just always explored our passions like you guys too, and music just was a passion anyway, like everyone. So whether we would get paid for it or not, we just constantly. Whether it's making music or playing it, then it was. I don't know. It's hard. It just finds you, innit? You just start doing it, and then next thing you're sort of touring and all the rest of it. But yeah,
so you had a musical foundation, but then you kind of you applied it to a kind of an electronic kind of sense. Like
the electronic sense was because of what we just talked about. My whole early existence really as early teens and into my adulthood was just raving in London in the 90s, and it was rave and then jungle. So like I wanted to do something with it because I was DJing at that point as well, and trying like friends, like when I was even 12, 13, we would go to friends' houses to just have a go on their turntables. So I was always doing stuff with electronic music, I guess, from that age, like mixing just like mates' records at that time.
Just whatever records were there.
Yeah, we'd go like, and just go and smoke weed at people's houses. The girls were a bit older, they'd gone raving, and the guys that I was hanging, there was a whole big group of like ravers really, and so they were all going out, but I wasn't quite old enough, but I would go to their houses and mix and use it. I'd use his first time I used Technics and stuff, like I'm sure you guys remember the first time you used a pair, and it was a magic. You know what I mean?
It was amazing.
Yeah, so like those times, you just fall into that whole scene. We were going raving, buying tunes, DJing, mixing each other's houses, and all of that, and just as we were as kids basically, and doing drugs, smoking weed and all the rest of it. So I wasn't pre-planned to work in music, but I knew there was something that I was gonna do with what I was doing in the rave stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Because I think there's like a sort of a moment before recent times, like I would say pre like 2000 13 where like if you were into music, especially like dance music, electronic music, you didn't know what the entry point was. You kind of had to figure it out. And I feel like, especially from that era, you had to just like, okay, here's some turntables, here's some records. But like, how do you, like, you just have to figure out your own way to get from that bedroom to like what you see when you go out. And there's no like blueprint. I mean, there is now.
Yeah.
But back then, I think that was kind of like a magical thing you had to figure out yourself.
The discovery was, like that was the whole magic from what I think we still look back so fondly on what we're talking about, is that we were all just discovering things quite naturally, organic. It's just like because of where I was born, I got into certain types of music or whatever. And then like that, I bought my first turntables because of that, whatever reason. And yeah, it's just one of those, I guess. Yeah, I sort of, just by happy accident, but the innocence of it is what I think we all still find so magical, really. Do you know what I mean? Just that everything's just new and fresh, and you're just discovering. Everyone's experimenting musically, anyway. I think everyone was experimenting so much. Do you know what I mean? In a little sense, more. But yeah, I look back retrospectively a lot, but not in the way of like, oh, things were so much better than a lot of the time. Things were brilliant then, but you've always got to keep it moving forward. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just like part of like the history, and I feel fortunate really that I got to go and do all of these things in quite a special time in London, really, right? And all different sides, really, from later to the broken beat to all sorts of different types of music, grime, garage, and all the early stuff of that, and just being in London from the early sort of what we said to start with, just London really is such an influence in everything, really, like all those sounds, basically, when it comes to music. So,
this is something I don't know. I've known you for a long time, but I don't know the answer to this. Most people probably know you have like a turntablism background.
Yeah.
Did that come first, or did the dance music come? How did that like come about?
The turntablist stuff was later, really. I was like we just talked about, early teens raving. My first music entrance after what I said musical instrument wise, and at school and bands or like orchestras, was then going raving. So when I later in the 90s, when I went to university, and then I got into hip hop. Not got into hip hop. I was always into bits of rap, but got into rap seriously sort of a bit later, basically, because my first love was more like rave music. So the turntablist thing happened a bit later, really, because I discovered rap, and then I put the two together, really, because my early influence with what we were talking about was with turntables at people's houses in them early times. A friend of mine, there was two DJs that were scratching. One was called Mixmaster Max, who was a sort of legendary North London scratch rave DJ that then was under DJ Hype, basically, from back in the day, in that sort of early time. So I was always influenced by that scratching on rave music. Hype obviously a bit later.
Yeah. I was going to say Hype.
Yeah, but Mixmaster Max was like the North London guy who was like, he was scratching pre-Hype, basically,
right.
89, Defection, and all of that. It was him, and that really influenced me. I was into breakdancing in the 80s when I was a kid, and sing like that. That part of scratching was still with me, but I definitely, like, when I got into the sort of hip hop thing a bit later, I was already scratching over rave stuff anyway, doing like rave things, like, because the scratch part was just there. My friend Davin had Gresham had an Audio Technica with the switches, so we would scratch over and he was buying records from SRD and all sorts of places that one of my friends was selling. So we had stacks of records and all sorts just to kind of mess with, and so I put them together with it. When the hip hop thing came, I was already pretty interested in all that side of DJing, the technical side. So, it was just later in the sort of 90s, really, 98, 99, and 97, 98, 99, got really into like DMC stuff because I was watching, like studying it all, and that was like, I don't know how long we got, but we all know that's a whole different.
Yeah. I used to have the VHS tapes.
Yeah, I got my
all
box.
That stuff. So they would have all the like competitions on VHS, fully. And you could order them or buy them in record shops, or then you had like different crews had like their own, like Scratch Pickles would have like almost like a mixtape of video of them scratching and trying different things.
Yeah, it was almost like a early blueprint of some stuff that goes on, because, you know, turntable TV is what Qbert and that used to do, was just like a video with VHS you would buy of them scratch practicing and doing stupid stuff and just goofing about. Yeah, and just doing silly things, and then the technical stuff, and then them at shows, and then on the road, and it was just a whole like life segment, and that's we would wait for the next turntable TV VHS to come.
And they kind of set the culture. Kind of what it was going to be.
That was a little bit later, I guess. That sort of, you know, that was end of the 90s into 2000s in a certain way, late 90s anyway. But you know, I sort of then rewound it all and sort of got so into it that, you know, went back into the early 90s and, you know, Dream Team, Qbert and all that from 92, 93 and back, all the early scratch DJs, turntable, you know, the hip hop things is that we're super nerds, and all of us are anyway. But when it gets to turntablism, it was just like, you know, you spend the entire day either practicing, scratching, or doing something technical, or just studying, or just like learning where does it come from or whatever. Just, you know, we just fall deep into the sort of hole, and I did with that, and we just practiced for hours, and you know, you get into that culture. The whole turntablist culture was, the movement was, it was pretty mad. Like, it's how we know like all of the similar group of friends at Craze and A-Track and everyone. And
right, yeah, because they came out of, obviously that movement is still part of that movement.
Yeah.
But, so when you formed the Mixologists, were you was it always going to be a DJ kind of unit rather than a production unit? I know you did some production too, but
a little bit, yeah. But I mean, I actually didn't start it. I got sort of not drafted in, but I got asked to join. Go asked me, so Go started it. I can't even remember, in the 90s at some point. He just enlisted a whole group of like London DJs. There was like DJ MK, Yoda, him.
Oh, okay.
Kofi. Can't remember who were the early group. And then in 99, we decided to enter a DJ battle in London, and we came, the four of us, it was me, Go, and two other DJs, Gizrock and Yo, and that was the beginnings of it. But I was part of that initial battle, the first time Mixologists battled, and then we started touring from that. So I was there at the conception, but it's essentially, for all intents and purposes, it was DJ Go's sort of conception, idea, his crew, much like other DJ crews have, like someone who started it, whatever.
And then people just come in. And,
and then it turned into just me and Go in the end, basically. We probably our most successful was 2001, where it was just me and him together, basically, in the DMCs.
And you were just like traveling all around the world and just like
just
doing shows. And
6 turntables, 4 mixers every show, basically. Like carried them all around our world, around the world as not the turntables. We'd obviously occasionally would take them with us, but I remember in '99 we took a turntable across to Hawaii from London, man, which was like I remember taking that. Like, it was just like whoa, just so we could practice in the hotel room, but. Yeah, that was what we used to do for that 10 years. It was just like multiple turntables, like at least 4 to 6 turntables roughly, at least a pair of a mixer or two each. Battle was always 6 turntables and 4 mixers. And just, like 10 years of touring and doing like routines and hip hop playing. I brought all my drum and bass and all other styles, 4/4 styles into like our club sets as mixologists touring. You know, we then toured on the drum and bass circuit, which was amazing for me because then I started playing amongst like people that I would then used to go raving to, like
people you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, like you know, like I was super gassed. I started playing.
Yeah, who was you gassed about the most? Would you say?
Well, as a raver, I always looked up to Randall. A lot of the heads were always like Randall was because he did the long mixing and actually. You know, Andy was always like the double drop king and still is. So whenever you grow up, you always love that style of mixing, and Andy's number one at that. So Andy was always a bit of a favourite, but Randall was always an early favourite. And never really met him till a bit later, and we probably got out of playing drum and bass. But I remember like meeting people like Ed and Optical, and that Optical's a massive. I'm a huge fan because just because of his legendary in the jungle and early rave, you know, sort of scene, from being the engineer for so many seminal records in that sort of scene, basically. So like when I met him or whatever, it became good friends with a few people, and it was just like, can't believe like 10, 15 years before, you know, I was in World Dance just like trying to check out this person's set, you know what I mean? So the beauty of music, you then full circle come, and I'm sort of then meeting people like this, and then they're calling me up or whatever. You know, when you start working with them in music, and that's how it sort of goes, really. But yeah, that side of things is pretty mad. You know what I mean?
Full circle.
Yeah.
And I did find that you made a few garage records as well.
Which ones are we talking about? Because my memory is a bit hazy.
Oh yeah. Discogs came out with a couple. But
What did they come
sound
out
dope.
with?
An Erykah Badu flip.
Nah.
Nah, not you. That's so funny.
one did
Must
it
be an
come
imposter, man. It's so funny. There's a
No.
mixologist Discogs page
Is
with
there?
like a couple of garage things.
What else is on them? And that's kind of like pretty
Yeah,
mad. Nah.
yeah.
With the productions that we didn't, me and Go actually didn't make tunes together because at that time in the end of the 90s,
That's funny.
I got an MPC, and then as I started getting into actually trying to make music, do you know what I mean? I guess at that time, and just sort of studying it. But yeah,
It's an imposter.
Imposter.
well, what
An
tunes?
imposterist.
Yeah. I don't, someone's maybe just added a couple of tunes. Maybe I'll get some good PRS from it. Some old mixologist PRS.
Right. Go collect.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I'll have to go check that. To be fair.
So what about the production? When did you get like fully into the production side?
Yeah, I mean, end of the 90s, I'd probably say, you know, at that point, I was like trying to piece together bits of studio, you know, have a sampler and this and MPC. Then I bought from my friend at university in like 96, I don't know, 96 or 7 or something. I can't remember, you know. And so there's bits that I've got an old picture that I can see from that time from 96. And in the studio, there's like an Apple Mac, you know, the Mac, I can't remember what they were, the
Rainbow logo era.
Yeah, but with the sort of see-through and the blue, and then I've got like a guitar and a 950 and an MPC and something else, and it's just like you can tell the time just from looking at like the sort of some of the gear. So I reckon like late 96, 97, 98, I was trying to, you know, at university get into like making like beats of all sorts really, yeah, and then from there just, you know, once you get in that time, you just consume, you know, how we all did in that time, whether it's, you know, sequencer based or like studio, like gear based, or just, yeah, I think from then onwards, it was just full steam ahead, like all of us. And it, once you get the sort of bug of making tunes and stuff. And I was around people that all the time that were just, it was just trying to figure out how to sort of do it basically. Did like one module at University of Sound Engineering, because I had the opportunity, but still I wasn't making tunes properly at that point, just trying to learn really more. And that was like 96, I think. Yeah, and then just, that was a long time ago. So I've been making tunes all the time since, as we all have, do you know what I mean?
I know, man. We just, you know, take it for granted sometimes. It's like, just open up your door and just like, you know.
Yeah, I spent hours just taking bits of editing tape just to put on the vinyls. We were talking about the turntablists time, because Crazy did some tweet the other day about just, you know, the laborious things that we used to do as turntablists that you just don't do anymore. But it's just even that, just cutting little pieces of tape to put on the record one spindle back of the groove, so you can get it right on the right groove every time. Just like, just, you know, spent endless time, like hours wasting away doing sort of things like this in that era that you just, you know, now we just sort of,
now we don't even
cue
have
points.
like needles anymore.
Yeah, just hit cue points on the sort of record box and we're away. But yeah, different. But
that's mad, man. And then when was like your first like foray into like production? When would you say you kind of like found your groove, your feet, and you were like, okay,
yeah,
the Jack Beats project?
I think like all through the early like when I first started learning gear, whatever, 97, 98, 99, then 2000s, we was doing DMCs. I was still learning, trying to make hip hop, drum and bass beats. I was linking up with people like Subfocus, met Chasing Status them times, working on tunes with them a little bit, and just learning from some of the jungle people, trying to make drum and bass at one point in the early 2000s. Then making weird electronica stuff, making lots of rap as well, hip hop, some sample, but you know, everything that we were influenced, but not doing anything with anything, but was surrounded by like all the West London lot at that time. So I was making broken beat too, and trying to make broken beat or a weird broken beat or whatever the influence of West London at that time. And then it wasn't probably till 2005-ish or so that Decline asked me to do a remix. I was just, you know, we just all fingers in pies, doing loads of stuff with anyone at that point and just working and networking and whatever, and did that remix and for Decline and started it.
Was that under Jack Beats?
Eventually it came out as me and Benny G and Plus One, because I started the mix and me and Neil finished it together basically, because I was like, me and Neil were linking up at the time. We'd been friends for years before that, but we were linking up and I was like, I'm working on a mix for Decline. I was like still still in the middle of it, blah, blah, blah. He's like, why don't you bring it over and let's finish it, do it together. So I took the parts of whatever, I printed them out and went over to his in East, and we finished it together. I think we put a bass line on it and a few other bits, and we just finished it. And then it came out as Benny G Plus One, which was technically the first Jack Beats production. And that was, at that point, been making lots of tunes, but that was probably one of the early things that I thought was, starting to come out. Had releases before on our own. I can't even remember the sort of what had come first, but that was definitely like an early time when I thought the production sound, not that sound really is indicative of what we've done now, because it was more of like a double time rap beat, but still electronic influence. And I think that was when I was like, we got to do, me and Neil were like, let's just like see what beats we've both got, basically. And then at that point you're thinking, all right, let's take it seriously, because I was working in music for a long time at that point still, and doing loads of stuff from, but at that point, production-wise, I thought I wanted to sort of move, just fully focus on it, as opposed to focus. The DJing side takes all your time, and all parts of music take your time. I was doing lots of session and
especially turntable stuff, like things that are related around that. It's a lot of practicing. It's a lot of getting your shit tight.
And I was touring with lots of artists. I was the DJ for like Mark B and Blade. Kano I was doing stuff with Kane, Plan B as well at the time, and I was trying to be lots of people's DJs and also do lots of DJ gigs and do lots of battles and everything, and learn production and do production. And just thought at that point, just focusing the production side was like, let's just go. I just wanted to like sit in the studio all day basically and carry on making beats. And I've been DJing for a long time, and at that point when that mix happened, I was like, I wanted to just do, not spread my wings too thin everywhere and just go fully and just like, I have a whole history now and I know how to make tunes, and I'm part of this. I just wanted to like sit in the studio and just continue that, which I was doing, but more sporadic before that, basically.
And that was the same with Neil, I remember as well, because he was part of the Scratch Perverts.
Exactly.
And and your thing was taking off. And I remember he was in that predicament where he was like,
Yeah. It was, at that time for sure. Like, I think it was like sort of, it was just sort of blowing up, and so Neil decided, took the decision to sort of step away from the Perverts, his sort of turntablist sort of project and stuff, which was super successful even at the time when he decided to sort of not continue. But
I remember seeing, Perverts like killing Fabric like on the regular,
There's some of my biggest...
they were like the one British like turntablist group I knew about in like the late 90s. From
still probably one of my biggest influences as a DJ, because the turntablist was such a big part of it, my technical side of DJing. And they're definitely one of my top, like from the turntable side. We talked about, say, Randall or whoever else from drum and bass times, but Tony and the Scratch Perverts, and what Neil was part of was, the innovative DJing, period for the whole of DJ culture, really. Like if people sort of ever delve back into the history, you'll see the innovation basically from lots of those DJs, but especially them. So,
and they knew how to like rock a dance floor as well as be like impressive,
they bridged that total like club environment and sort of party rocking or whatever at the time. And they bridged a lot of like influences, scratching and turntablism, drum and bass, hip hop and everything. And we were all purveying that, like I definitely will put my hand up and say that I was one of the early drum and bass hip hop, because we were all doing that. It was like turntablism was hip hop based, but like as you got into the 2000s, drum and bass was really strong, and
you couldn't avoid it.
But that was my background, so I brought that fully into like the turntablist thing, and they just took that to another level, though. Really, you know what I mean? Because that's I guess how me and Neil met, going to Movement, really, and all those London clubs, basically. So, but the Scratch Perverts were just sort of legendary, not just London, UK, and just worldwide, really, but just legendary sort of turntablist crew DJs for me personally. As an influence, really, and there's so many like music producers really that have that history really now, which is really like sort of really lovely to see from say Jim O'Munit to like God, like I don't know, even the French guys Mercer and Snake and those guys. So whoever it is, there's just like this I see all around, like even like Uzi as well, who used to be in Mixologist as well. Go actually drafted him in. I remember seeing Uzi. He came to my parents' house in North London, and when he first came over from France, and just sort of did his routines, and he's just phenomenal scratch DJ, French. This guy we were just like blown away by him. But just to sort of see all the people from that era still doing what really amazing and like having great music careers still, and just there's a really cool thread of like the turntablist scene.
And you guys are all really close. Like I remember when I first started touring and meeting you guys and Craze and A-Track and everyone was so close. You've known each other since you were really young and super friendly, and I love hearing the stories, all the old stories and stuff about like
so good
the turntables.
Yeah, it was a brilliant era of like, you know, because just early touring really. I hadn't really done that much touring, and it was just really like amazing to be doing it and around someone like say Craze, who at that point, you know, 3 times he'd won the world championships. DJs, we were just, you know, just a different time in the DJ world really, where it wasn't how it was now, and that sort of meant probably a lot more to us then than it maybe would now. But it's cool. So when we all came through, it's just such a great vibe with us from A-Track to Craze. All of us, we just, because we come from that sort of real like school of hard knocks DJing style, where you're judged on every level for the whole time of the whole year, all year round basically. So we just, I don't know, we have that sort of group companionship.
Been through battle.
Yeah, basically.
Hip-hop battle.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of scrutiny around, you know, the turntablist stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you had to come like correct, you know.
And that's why I kind of, both me and Neil really enjoyed the later era when we started Jack Beats and started DJing under that and doing that project, and we were playing house music, and it was less people just there in the rave really to dance, which was so different to a lot of the hip hop and other events that we were doing for a few years, where, you know, you're just sort of expected to perform all the time and do loads of tricks, routines,
and then kind of play the same old tunes as well.
And like still, so it was great we suddenly were just in a whole world where we could just like, you know, start playing house music and all sorts of different types of bass music or anything, you know.
Was that hard to get used to, or was that kind of a welcome change of pace?
It was just really good, man, because, you know, there was lots of gigs through the sort of early 2000s where we would be at clubs wherever, you know, we would, at that point, because the DMC was international, we could go in we toured quite extensively. We were in Asia all the time, so I could be in, say, you know, part of Asia, and there'd still be a big front row of kids just not dancing, waiting, stopping. Crazes would have this probably still at every gig. You know, the classic turntablists just looking at you, not dancing. They just want to see you sort of perform, and in a certain way you feel sometimes, you know, like you're a bit of a circus act.
Is that,
you know what I mean?
is that called like the fishbowl or something?
Is that what they call it?
I don't know. Yeah. It's like just people just kind of
Fishbowl.
Yeah, but like in like that time, turntablist and hip hop clubs and all that, like there's that element where like, look, they're wanting something which you can do in those clubs. You can't really do. You can't suddenly stop the music in like the clubs we're playing now and just do like a 10-minute routine.
Yeah.
Crazy good, or certain DJs sort of could, but then, you know, there's people standing at the front waiting for you. Like, shit, I am going to do it, but you just felt so much pressure all the time to keep like being a bit of a sort of circus act. So it was so welcome for both of us to be like, suddenly we're like, we can just go and play in the dance and then leave, and we don't really have to sort of show our faces so much. And like, I just really loved that. I used to go my early raves where I never knew where the DJ was. I if I could, I just wouldn't ever be seen, basically. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to just like sit in the background and just play the music.
This is how it's a different dynamic back then with people not knowing where the DJ was.
My first clubs, unless it was the big raves, you know what I mean? The club stuff like Labyrinth, I never knew where the DJ was for a long time. You never used to see him. It was up on the top bit, so it wasn't really about that. It was just like Fabric and like a lot of the clubs in the UK. It was about like being cavernous and getting lost, and the vibe of the club, and the music was pumped throughout it. Basically.
Even Room 1 in Fabric is still like, if you look at where the DJ booth is, it's not very visible unless you're on the stage.
No, exactly. And sometimes when the stage is going off, when they used to have the stage open, or, like, people aren't really looking to the box, are they? Like,
no.
Okay, if they were on the stage in Room 1, then people are sort of focused at them. But when you're in the normal booth, like, it's just like a surround. Yeah, just like all of those clubs, like, I mean, there was some that were completely the opposite, which I absolutely loved. It was not hypocritically, but like stuff like the End, where it was all centered around the DJ and you were all just like around them, was just as unique in a different way. But
I remember back in the day, I would like go watch the DJ because I wanted to be a DJ, and I remember like observing, and people would make fun of me like, "Why are you watching the DJ? Why aren't you dancing or socializing?" It was just like so different back then. Not always, but a lot of the time.
Totally. But the move into sort of jack beats and then the house stuff, it was definitely like refreshing. Like, you know, I still enjoyed scratching a bit over it, but Neil wasn't so keen on it, and it was just nice to be able to do something different, I guess, in it. And like, you know, we'd spent decades or whatever just in that zone. So yeah, to start being able to like be a bit freer and just not have people expect anything other than what the tunes that we'd made be played. Basically, it was it was just amazing. Really, both of us were just like, this is just so sick. Do you know what I mean? We don't have to sort of perform basically, and just
What was the first like official Jack Beats record? I guess you did the remix with him, but it was both. It was
that came out as Benny G and Plus One. Then after that, we did do another one. We did the Gold Digger because that was they really liked the mix, so they were like, Nick Decline said, let's do. I think this was the next tune. It was him and his boy. They were called Gold Digger, basically, and we did a record. I think this is the one. We did it for Future Music, some Future Music thing where they've recorded it, blah, 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 and it came out, and it was them versus us, and we needed to be called something, and we'd done the whole tune. It was
Future Music, like the magazine?
Yeah, okay. yeah. And we'd done the tune, they filmed it basically, I can't even remember when this was, but the tune, Nick Decline then wanted to release a tune, because we made the tune. It was like an original. It was just like us making a tune, but in separate, and then we put it together. They made one bit, and we made another bit. And so we had done this, and it was coming out on Nick's label, I think, Rat Records at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were in Express 2 studio in Hammersmith with Greg, who was the other half. Greg engineered a lot of stuff. Anyway, he was the other half of Gold Digger, which is Decline's partner. And they were just like, we were sitting in the studio trying to finish. They were just piecing it together, and he was just like, to me and Neil, we need to have a name basically for us. So that's where we came up with the name Jack Beats, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time they probably put it on like a track that we had done. And I think it was the Gold Digger tune, so that it was like them versus us or something, and it was called Gold. Oh God, is it called?
We got to dig that one up. We got to gold dig that one up.
Yeah, it's Gold Digger versus Jack Beats, and then after that was like 2006, I think. And then
was that Cheap Thrills after that? Was it?
After that was our own label a bit. Me and Neil started a label called Ahead of the Game.
Oh yeah,
Wait,
right.
I didn't know that.
I remember
How did
that.
I not know that?
About 2005-06, we started a label Ahead of the Game. Our boy Mysterious Al
Yeah,
did all
I
did all the
remember.
artwork, and I've still got like I did everything. I took the reins on it a little bit. Neil was just like, cool, wants to be involved, but he was just like, you basically go nuts. Do you know what I mean?
Was it vinyl?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I've still got 3 boxes in my studio in London. I've still got 3 boxes in the storage up at the top. Yeah, I still got of the house bag that Mysterious Al did for us. Yeah, because he did like all the classic Mysterious Al.
What was the logo like?
It was like all like classic Al stuff. So it was like mummy stuff, and he'd bubble like I don't know if you're familiar with Al's stuff at that point. It was like very like sort of not gothy, but just like sort of that style, and like I mean it was so mad. The whole thing was just a million different like pictures, but that we started releasing some bits of ours because we would sign some tunes. The first tune I signed was Ticker Top by Skibber. Skibbity did a tune. I was linking Skibbs at the time a lot, and it turned out to be a bit not like a huge tune, but it's a bit of an underground sort of like not classic, but like definitely like sort of an underground heads tune. It was like Ticker Tock basically. It's Chrissy Chris.
Dude, I remember that.
You remember Ticker Tock?
Yeah.
With the Golden Hen sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to clear that, which was a nightmare.
Did you?
Yeah, but that was the first tune, Ticker Tock, and that was like, because at the time it was Ron Extra Radio Tune of the Week. Or I can't remember. It was well, for what little hype it seems now, it was massive at the time. Do you know what I mean? But it was
I think
still
I got
regarded.
that on promo through the promo
Did ya?
companies. Yeah.
So yeah, that was like the first tune, and then we started like releasing some Friends tunes. We'd do a little remix on it, and the Trip tune, and just like started doing stuff on that, and just prior to Cheap Thrills, basically.
Yeah.
And then it was around that time we were sort of just still, we started shopping some stuff to other people's, but like Ahead of the Game was where we first started being like, oh, let's just put it out ourselves, basically. And we just, it was an art project for us for so long. So even the label was an art project. It was just, if I showed you these house bags, because the idea was just like one day I'm going to have a bathroom or something, I'm just going to plaster the whole wall in just Mysterious Al house bags. But they're obviously still in storage in London. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah, I want to see these now. I just
they
tried
are
to
amazing.
Google it, but I couldn't find it straight away. But I want to.
Because also signed a tune. If you Google that TikTok cover, or even like if you do Jack Beats, Future Cut and Fallacy, because I signed a tune. Future Cut are like old friends of mine as well. They're like drum and bass producers who then became pop producers.
Yeah.
In London, and I signed because they've been old mates. I signed a tune from them. They were making they just amazing producers. They released on Metalheads and all sorts, and have done pop stuff from.
Oh, here we go.
You see,
I haven't got that artwork though.
but yeah,
Is that stuff online digitally, or is it
some of it?
Oh,
is.
yeah, here we
Some
go.
of it is. That's it. That's the bag. Yeah,
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, but the house bag. That's the sort of if there was to be a logo, but. If you go back, the yellow is the sort of house bag, yeah.
Okay.
I used to just put stickers. See the Fallacy sticker?
Oh yeah.
So the house bag is the same. On the other side's a bit different, but the sticker was just put on, and I'd get the label the label different center label as well would just change. So we just got like loads of house bags and the same done up, and obviously didn't do that loads of vinyl. Always, it was the time when vinyl started to sort of dip a little bit, but
That's sick.
Yeah,
That's
so
sick.
that was like early release, and then Cheap Thrills started coming after that. Basically, I guess which was
I was helping out Josh
Yeah.
with A&Ring in the early days. Yeah.
yeah. That's right. I guess that's where we met.
That's
maybe.
where we met. Yeah.
Those sort of early, sort of when London was sort of going like really like sort of for another music change, I guess, isn't it? And it was just sort of those East Warehouse sort of things were going on. You were coming out, is what we started talking about, and all of those like urban nerds. I guess that was a bit later, but that sort of era of Tomb Crew and everyone, and even like Adam Duke Dumont, those early people who,
the old Duke Dumont stuff was sick.
those
Kind of heavy stuff.
yes, seeing sort of
That's crazy.
Dub-sided days.
yeah,
Yep.
that's probably where we first started linking up. And
Yeah.
Fake blood.
Yeah, man. The music scene was really like going through, like you'd say, going through like some changes and some shifts.
yeah.
And you signed.
So the Cheap Thrills was kind of like the Jack Beats as we know it now.
Yeah.
Like introduction.
Yeah. That was, I guess.
Was that before? Because I love the Boy 8-Bit remix you did for Trouble and Bass.
Yeah.
That was before that.
Yeah.
So that was like, the intro. Here we are. And that shit was epic too.
When we went with Cheap Thrills, it was just like, it's really hard. I don't know about you guys, man, but I find it hard to remember the order of some of the release tunes.
Same.
Absolutely.
Same.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So
But that was like 10
please
years ago.
forgive me if it gets slightly wrong. But I'm pretty sure like we had done those already, like, and we were just like, we wanted to come to Josh and that with some sort of proper like tunes for the label, because we wanted a release on Cheap Thrills. Do you know what I mean? So we were just trying to tailor like the tunes. We'd already had a few of those things. The Boy 8-Bit one happened, but the first ones was when we signed the UFO. Because I remember the meeting, we came the first time to Josh's house in Kensal Rise, still where it ends now, really.
Yep.
He's not. He's not in the same house, but when he shared the same house with Martello, I remember that house.
Yes.
Buchanan Gardens or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we went there, and he had Josh had his studio in the studio.
We built a studio within
So hot.
a studio. Yeah, we got like an isolation
So hot. I
room.
go in there just like
I remember I was there too.
Yeah, but you closed the door and it was like
And there was
mad.
like 4 of us in that tiny room.
Yeah. I never forget. I was like, because Josh's room, him and Martello were sharing, like, love them. We're, like Marty, man, long time, like Predator from when we used to do Herbal and all that times. Yeah.
Herbal.
And all the plates and all the beans and everything was everywhere. And I was like, this is just like mad student house. Like, but it was just like the two of them like living there. And I was like, these like the jokers. You know what I mean? And we came and I remember we played Josh and you like a bunch of tunes. And I remember most of them, I can't remember. One of them was definitely Get Down. I remember that because we was like, it wasn't quite right at the time, but Josh was sort of into that one. And then as we were leaving, I remember nothing really had like properly like we were going there expecting to play you and just like loads of bangers and just you be like amazing. Let's like roll, and it wasn't quite like that. That I remember, like, you know, bless Josh. Obviously, he can be sometimes. You know what I mean? He wasn't the guy that would have been like that anyway. Now I know him. Do you know what I mean? But like we went away from it a bit like a little bit like. But as we left, I remember feeling a bit sort of. We were just literally leaving, and I said to Josh, I was like, "Yo, actually, we should send him." We were doing a remix for Titsworth at the time. Started doing a remix for Titsworth, and unfortunately for Jesse, like with that tune then turned into UFO basically because it was like, and I was just like, oh, like why don't we just send him that like to Josh, and then he obviously loved it, and then that was the sort of first tune I think on Cheap. I hope that was the first tune anyway on Cheap Thrills, a UFO EP or whatever. But I remember that instant because I was just like, it hadn't really worked out, and I just as we were leaving the door, I remember I was just like, oh, we'll send you this other one. He was like, oh, please send it, and then we did, and
that was the one that really stuck.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a mad time, man. I just remember just taking away, just thinking like, Marty, man, you got to like clean up your plates. Do you know what I mean?
Big up, man.
Yeah, Martello. Badass London DJ, man, but still in the 2000s didn't clean his plates.
But then like out here, like Diplo was riding for you super hard, and like, you know, you were getting loads of love over here as well. At the same time, you know, the remix for you, obviously.
Yeah, that set us up really. Do you know what I mean?
That was really cool because I was really into your music, obviously, and I put out Jack Got Jacked, and they were like, that was on Palms Out. I don't know if anyone listening remembers Palms Out Sounds. It was a really popular blog back in those days.
Holden, isn't it?
Yeah, Holden, and yeah, I did 2 tracks, and that was one of them, and we got a bunch of remixes, and I was like, we have to get Jack beats. It's Jack Got Jacked.
That
Gotta
was
get
so
Jack
sick
beats.
because that was MySpace time, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, we must have not really known each other. I think we might have met before that.
I think before that, I don't think we had. I think we just communicated whether it was like through mutual friends or MySpace or you know messaging things and whatever, isn't it?
AIM.
Yeah, possibly at that time, but it was definitely like a initial MySpace sort of link that I remember anyway. And remember me and Neil thinking, let's be so, because we didn't really know. We knew of what was going on, but we didn't know you at that time. But we were like, cool, let's do it. But we were just like, what would be cool? We'd always at that time. You know, not at that time, but always we were just like, if you think you can do something really interesting with something, or if you've got an idea, and the first idea really for that mix was actually Neil. Neil was just like, no, let's just do like a mix here, but let's make it just say "fuck Jack Beats" because it says, you know, we just
Jack.
Yeah, we just re-edit it just, and so we started doing the mix and we chopped it up so it's. Pre-drop, it was just like fuck Jack Beats and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, and we were like, yeah, no one's really gonna sort of get this at all. But we were just like, fuck it, we scrapped that part and then just like carried on sort of doing the mix. But like the initial idea was like, let's just sort of like diss ourselves and see if anyone gets it. Do you know what I mean?
I'm glad you went a different route because it worked.
Sounds awful, isn't it?
Yeah, Fake Blood was rearranging like his name. You were just
we were
dissing
just
yourself.
like I know we were like confused battle DJs. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, that
Battling
mix.
yourself.
Yeah, I mean that set us. You know, was one of the sort of jump offs. You know, still like now for us. Yeah, that tune. So 2008.
Yeah, I think that remix like really kind of launched my career a bit more. So thank you for that.
Oh man.
But ever since then, I think we got really close. And for now 10 plus years, like touring and hanging out. Music's cool like that.
Yeah, that's it. Because we met in Studio in New York just a year after that, I think, when I came to play. Yeah, Studio B, and then the rest is, music brings like-minded, doesn't it?
God bless
Souls.
Studio B.
Isn't it, man?
A great place.
Oh God,
yeah,
brilliant place. When I think back, talking
Brooklyn
about
spot.
stuff like that, or even when we talk about the End, or just clubs that. I think back to even more so London from what we were talking about because that's where I grew up, but that are no longer there. That just so glad I went to, even from I don't know Turnmills to ones that all closed down now. Really, for like Plastic People,
Yeah.
Just being able to sort of
They're such defining clubs because of the club nights that
Yeah.
they accommodated, that had there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I would always go to the end, and I was always into different kinds of music. But I'd go twice as nice.
Yeah,
and check garage, but then also go check
Scala.
Errol out. You know,
Yeah,
like
same. I was
like
that's
indie rock dance music. I was like, yeah,
on
that's
like
cool
a Monday
too.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I was exactly. That's why I loved growing up in London, because it was like that. You were just influenced by everything. Garage. We were the same. We'd go twice as nice, or cookies and cream.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'd go to like, I don't know, Innovation, and then you would go to see Errol's thing or whatever, and it was just like that. You like, I don't know. I just feel like I was fortunate because, like some of my friends were early people that were playing at Forward stuff, so I'd go down to Forward in the early Sublow times when it was like Oris and all of them and Tubby and that, and it was just early days, because Beat Freaks, they were doing tunes that were getting released at SRD from the area, London, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it, and ended up then at Plastic People for many years, and that was just what London was like. You just like, if it wasn't that, it was Co-op at Plastic People. If it wasn't that, it was like, you at Blue Note for whatever reason, or then you were at Swerve, or you like Velvet Rooms or Liquid or whatever. You just, London made it so accessible to go to any scene really. Like, and you could just, I don't know, I just felt like maybe it was just the type of people that myself or you were as well. But we just always, there was times I just remember going to the club, always through the whole history of London. It was just, you go to the next spot and just different places all the time.
And also that era when all the blogs were kind of like pushing all different music, I think that's when everything started to cross over, like you said, like the indie dance stuff and dubstep and
that
electro.
had a real moment, like electro indie dance
even
crossover.
disco, and like New York was kind of the same at that time. Like I remember that era, just like roaming around Brooklyn and New York, and you know, there was like Fool's Gold, Trouble and Bass, Palms Out, whatever crews, and everyone just kind of supported each other, and you would go to different, you know, all different kinds of nights. There'd be like an Ed Banger DJ here, and then like a dubstep party here, and then it was really.
It's true. New York was very much like that, because London, New York was similar in that respect, isn't it? And just that was what I remember when I first started going to, fortunate to play New York. It was similar to London. You could just go to loads of different places and lots of different sort of scenes, and you could just overlapping, and you could just get involved in them all and stuff.
And you would see everybody there. Yeah, really cool time. I knew like when that was happening, I was like, this is a really fucking cool time. Which is pretty cool that like you could see that it was like, I just loved it. It was just nice to be a part of that.
No, totally.
That wave.
Yeah, man. I feel really blessed to have seen the changes, and I definitely embrace the changes as well. Like, I think like clubs do come and go, but you know, on to the next, next thing, you know.
And it's just like about bringing, you know, like from everything we talked about, you know, we've all got lots of long histories in music. Do you know what I mean, of all sorts of different sort of sides of music, and it's just like moving forward, really, just like taking that with you, innit, as we always do, and just like you can't go back to them times, but we can kind of still have a bit of that, the element of like what made it so magical for all of us, from everything we talked about, and still bring that forward in what we're doing now and into the modern era. So it's just different, isn't it? Like I like, you know, like we said at the start, I'm just feel fortunate that I was part of all of my history, and like forward, innit? And so you got to always keep it moving. So trying to make all of us make forward thinking music, really.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's really important. I mean, and that's how we've all sort of sustained, you know, long careers in music. Is I think we have sort of, you know, constantly evolved and still get excited by new music as well. You know.
Yeah, and you know, especially with like what you have now done with sort of night bass and the whole, you know, the movement that we're in the offices of now. Do you know what I mean? That it has lots of threads of everything that we've talked about, because it's come from you.
It's just an extension of everything you've talked about, really.
Yeah, exactly. And the root of that's you, and it's just, you just have to be like, you know, I just, you know, it's forward always, isn't it? It's just like great to be retrospective, but just use that more in moving forward and all that. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, I think you could take those feelings you had from those old rave days when you first started going out.
Yeah.
Remember those feelings and kind of try to apply it to what you do now. You know what I mean? Like with Night Bass with the tape packs and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Like, that was because like the feelings I had and probably the same feelings you had listening to those tape
Yeah,
packs.
same.
Graham.
It brings back so many memories, and it really captures the essence of the night. If you weren't there, you could at least own the tape pack.
But if I had never experienced that, then I would have never thought
That's
to
true
do that.
too,
You know what I mean? So you got to take those experiences and apply it to even your music. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But always forward, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, exactly it. Like, there's like transporting back to them times is just in my head now. Do you know what I mean? So just it's a thread always through. What I guess same with all of us producers. We just draw on influences and history and musical influences and samples and things from our past that we want to like revisit, basically. And that's always a massive part for me. That's why the Jack Beats thing started with a big rave and hip hop sort of combination, really, because the rave, I guess, side was me and the hip hop side essentially was Neil, although we were both bits of both. I was a bit later in the hip hop side and Neil was a bit later in the dance side, but that was it, hip hop and sort of rave elements, and they always just stay through your productions, even if you sort of change, I guess. We're always going to love a piano smash.
A piano
do you know what I mean?
sample,
Give me a piano and I'm there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, talking about moving forward, the partnership of Jack Beats is now a solo project. So tell us about kind of like how that like where you kind of separated.
I mean, it's a solo project insofar as I'm fronting it and doing it all from everything really, from productions to just the DJing and stuff. And it's nothing more really that we never broke up and not breaking up in that sense, so to speak. Just more Neil wanted to primarily have a personal life and a family and a wife and he's got a beautiful
is he doing
forest. Sorry,
is he doing good?
Yeah, he's a year and a half now, maybe.
That's
I think,
cool.
a year and a bit. He's little and
He's really cute.
And he's so cute. And doing a solo project and just like having time out the project really as well, really, which is we've both been touring, like we said, in different monikers, Scratch Perverts, Mixologists, 10 odd more plus years before Jack Beats, and then we did 10 plus 12 odd years together touring over 2 decades, both of us. And I think Neil wanted a bit of time off the road and all the rest of it, and it was that sort of time where it was absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? We're the best of mates. We still talk. I still send him loads of music. We still exchange loads of ideas, and we just although he lives in London and I'm in LA, I still try and keep his thread through the project as strong as when we were doing it together. We've got so much like volumes of like stuff that we've worked together. I'll just like, if I'm working on a tune, I might just bring like a little bit, like one of his little samples that he maybe put into an old project and see if I can rehash it, or just whatever it is, try and squeeze a bit of like his, or even if it's just, what would Neil think of this? Do you know what I mean? Because we were both producers. We used to send each other beats every day or whatever. And is this any good? Is this any good? Is this any good? And if he liked something of mine, or vice versa, we'd maybe then work on it. Do you know what I mean? Because we both just made beats, and I still try and have that sort of feeling when I'm making tunes now. Just like for the Jack Beats project, just what would he think of it? Is it his? Because of all the producers that I've ever worked with, I still rate him as the most talented producer I've ever worked alongside, basically, and that's from every sessions that we've ever been in or we've ever worked with. So, we've learnt loads from each other, and we did the whole project together, and it's still as much his as it is mine, even though I'm fronting it and all the rest of it. And maybe one day, we always said when he was like, I want to take a bit of time out, it was never like, it's done. It's just, I'm sure we'll make tunes together at some point. I'm sure we'll maybe do some gigs or a gig or whatever, maybe not, but I'm sure we'll get in the studio and do some tunes together. It's not
like a closed door or whatever. Yeah. It's just like, it's just still...
Of course, we like at the time it was a bit like, both of us, it was a bit like, damn, how's this going to sort of work, whatever. But like, we found our feet and that, and it was fine. And, we move in different... You get older and you get in different paths and you want to move on with your life, but also not close doors or whatever, but still need to move on. And it's just, it's amazing how it's worked out. He's, you know, we're just still best of friends. And that friendship was always the most important thing. Through everything like that we ever did and accomplished, we were always just like, nobody else, in the nicest possible way, nobody else really matters. We're doing this as a friends with like best mates partnership and a sort of, you know, an art project and all the rest of it. And we always have to make sure that we're enjoying it. And so, yeah, it's just, we still always maintain that our friendship was always more important than any business side. We never argued, nothing ever came in our way. We'd always get a bit heated in the studio maybe, but never.
He's such a lovely guy, man. I
can't picture you guys fighting.
No, but by fighting, I mean heavily discussing. Obviously,
I've witnessed. We were all three of us in the studio once at Mad Decent, and we were working on a tune, and there was a discussion about the tempo, and I was between them, and they were like talking to each other, but it was the most polite kind of back and forth I've ever witnessed, and it went on for a while. And after like 5 minutes, I was like, wait, in my head, I'm like, wait, they're arguing right now. But it was like, oh, mate, like super sweet.
Should be 127.
But look, if it's 128, yeah. The thing is, we would, yeah, you're right. I remember them, like, that was how we were. We would just, you know, we would just heavily discuss, sometimes to our detriment. Me and Neil would always be like, we've got to stop talking about this and just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Because we were just like endlessly talking about, like, you know, the sort of whether, you know, the kick was either EQ'd right or was half a dB up or down correct or not. Do you know what I mean? Or like whether, you know, just endless producer chat. Endless. And me and Neil just went down holes for years. Do you know what I mean? And eventually, with the banging of the heads, we'd come out with the music that we'd come out with. But like, there was a lot of times when me and Neil would be like, jokingly, like, that is fucking painful. Do you know what I mean? Because we would just sometimes square peg round holes, but just forcing, because the way we would work is just, not forcing the ideas or forcing the music, but just like endlessly remixing and rehashing and changing and moving things forward because we weren't satisfied that we got the best out of what we were working with for the tune, although the tune was good, yeah, and we knew the tune direction, but we knew this sound or the bass or this or that, whatever it was, we just hadn't quite got as fully out of the sound that we thought we could get or whatever, so we were endlessly moving and changing and trying to like just twiddle or like just sort of work things into a different sort of zone, and sometimes it was pretty painful, but I guess that's just how we worked, and eventually you come out with a tune that does really well and you're just so happy that for the, you know, those hours of like not arguing but just discussing like sort of half a decibel of like attenuation, do you know what I mean? Just like what we're doing, like
I think a lot of DJ duos don't really last that long, and you guys steadily put out really quality music together for a really fucking long time. Yeah. And then as you said beautifully, it's not, you didn't stop because there was any kind of split. It was just like, organic. He started a new chapter personally, and I think you've done an amazing job of continuing the Jackbeat sound. It's still spot on. As what it was.
Yeah, nice, absolutely. Like all the tunes you put out are just like consistently good, man.
Like you wouldn't even know.
That right.
You know.
Oh man, well it's always like I said, with him in mind or whatever, like the newer bits and stuff. And I always feel I've lost, like, you know, like I say, Neil's like one of the most talented people I've ever worked with. He's won the DMCs as a solo, like a multi-talented individual, studied graphic design at St. Martin's, all sorts. I just looked up to him for years. You know what I mean? So personally, I've always like felt like he's, as a synergy, you know, as a team, you're always better. But as things transpired, I just wanted to represent what we had created together and continue to fly that flag, because we'd spent a long time as a unit creating something which we were really mega proud of. Do you know what I mean? We'd done amazing things, toured the world, toured all the major festivals of the world that we wanted to tick, from, you know, Glastonbury's to you name it, and really proud of that. So I was just like, I just want to make sure I continue the legacy that we started or whatever, just, you know, move forward, because the longevity of music, as we all know, is the harder part to keep going from year to year and stuff. So keep him in mind always. He's always at the forefront of tunes for like Jack Beats, like his critique or whatever. And I still send him stuff as well, like working on this, that, and the other, for this, that, and the other. And he'll give me he'll be like, you know, this is this is banging, or this is rubbish, or whatever it is. And I still like get feedback. And yeah, he's, like I say, I still try and keep his thread throughout the project as much as I can, basically, even if it's just me thinking about how he might diss something that I'm sort of doing. Do you know what I mean? And be like,
hear his
I
voice.
better scrap this. And Neil would have fucking hate it.
It's like a little bubble over top of your head with his face.
Trust me. He's like, no, stop it. But yeah, I miss him loads, to be fair. We text all the time. A lot of the time we text this and the other about sort of music stuff and this and plugins or whatever. And then it's just like, I just miss each other really. Because
I miss him too, man. I haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah, of course. He's like,
Big up, Neil.
yeah,
Big
innit?
up
Like,
Neil. Shout out Neil.
and it's like my longtime brother, do you know what I mean? So like, yeah, we live in different places. Not that the world's a big place these days, but yeah.
Hope
yeah.
to see him out here soon. Neil, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
always
I'm
try
sure
to
he
link
will
up
be.
with him in London, but he's got,
Yeah.
he's on daddy duty.
oh,
he's
his
got-
dad life.
We hung out
Is
last month. It was good.
Oh,
It was
wicked.
good. Yeah. I miss that dude.
Yeah, but yeah, he's just one of them. We'll link up, and as ever is when we see each other, it's just like nothing's changed. He's just like I was best man at his wedding, and we just his sort of brother for life, really. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, man.
I want a friend
That's
like
dope.
that.
What's next? Is there anything? What's
I feel a little momentum behind Jack Beats.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
just like what we were saying, just the project was always organic. Just trying to still maintain that. Just do stuff that it got to the point where I was want to do stuff I really am into with friends and people that I'm really cool with, as opposed to just endlessly chasing stuff that I'm not sure or whatever. Just how you sometimes do through music. So yeah, the new sort of idea is just with kind of just to sort of not cared less, but just like I've done everything in music that I really feel blessed and accomplished and stuff, and I just want to do some really good stuff and enjoy all of the. Can you hear that?
There's like some new neighbor. They're really like,
it's
singing
going for
this.
it, bro.
What is it?
Can you not hear that?
I
It's
can, but
across
what is it?
The courtyard. I don't
It's
know.
like some
guy
party.
singing or something.
I couldn't hear it.
Nice background.
I mean, just been trying to like plug away and just like we were saying, just do stuff that is, make tunes instead of for anyone particularly or anything particularly, but just like not be too bothered about anything that's going on with anyone at all, basically, in a non sort of narcissistic way. Just I want to just, been so long doing music from everything we've talked about, from all the different projects and all the different sort of eras and stuff. I was just like got to the point where I was like, well, still want to find that excitement. So just going to do the stuff that I really want to do, basically, that makes me personally, and that translates in the studio, you hope, innit? You just want to do some shit
Yeah.
that's just like,
That's
you.
the best stuff.
I love
Yeah.
that attitude as well. It's like, especially now, it's difficult when in the game where you go on social media and there's so
Yeah.
many things happening. It's like we just have to like really put our blinkers on and just like don't compare yourself to other people or look at other people.
Totally.
It's really like you're in your own lane. You're doing your thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's like you're making the music you want
Yeah.
to make. It's like.
And we've all got to where we got to because we've stuck in our lanes, you know what I mean? And like we've all really sort of had that model of like just you stick to your guns really because it's what you're passionate about. If you're really real and true to your art of what you're doing, you just stick. You don't flitter between the trends. You sort of will go in and out of a trend maybe and consistently, but that's what your thread will always be. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's just like that ethos of sort of being like just
Being true.
yeah, and exactly, and people always gravitate to that side of things and musically as well. So you just hope that you can do that in the studio and just do some. I just got to the point where I was like, man, if the success goes the other way, if you don't become as successful because you're not doing certain things or you're not making certain music. So I was just like, I'm fine with that really, basically. Do you know what I mean? I'm fine
Yeah.
with everything that I've done and I'm really blessed from everything that's happened and blessed life. And
I'm the same. I feel like I think exactly the same
like,
as you do.
I just like, yeah, there's
To kind of
Exactly.
back up
Yeah.
a little bit to touch on this topic, this between me, you, and Neil, in 2013, I think it was, or maybe 12, I was personally like lost. I wasn't
Yeah.
really sure as a producer like what I was supposed to be doing. It was like EDM boom, and I just wasn't into it.
Yeah.
But I was kind of dabbling and kind of lost. And I did that Careless remix for you guys on Alzla, and I sent you like the first demo, and you guys were like, "Oh, this is cool, but why don't you make it sound like your older stuff?" And I was like, "Okay, let me try." And I went back, and just like, it was so natural when I stopped trying to do something else. Yeah. And I just did what I knew and what I understood and liked.
Totally.
And it just worked, and that kind of put me back on this path of to where I am now. And that, I think your attitude steered me back on track, because I was kind of at a lower point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man, well, that's amazing to, like, you know, blessed to know. And also that time was mad though, because there was lots of like, sort of, it's difficult to find a path at that particular point when things were just moving so sort of quickly and in different ways. It was so different to the older era that we talked about. Things were booming so quick. So yeah, I mean, I do remember that specifically, and I remember I was just thinking like yeah, if you just sort of pulled back maybe a bit and just sort of went more to your root, as opposed to like, you know, we were all doing some things at that time, even we were just like that you thought maybe we should maybe do. And it's only when you just throw all of that out the window, and it's just me and Neil always in the studio, much like when you probably did that, or when you done tunes that you were really pleased with. It's just like, you always just like, if no one listens to it, if no one buys it or really even likes it at that time, it's like, put it up on MySpace, and if it gets lots of plays or whatever. But if you have that attitude, then it's just about harnessing that all the time, obviously, because then it turns into a business and all the rest of it, and you need to maintain the business side, and then you maybe chase your talent or whatever. But if you still maintain that, you know, just you're doing it for yourself, really. Just that if you really love it and you stand behind it, and it's something that you really believe in, it's a tune. If everyone thinks it's rubbish or any part of it's bad, or just, you shouldn't really be bothered. Just, it's music. It's subjective. It's a creative
it's authentic
art form.
To you, you know. It's very, it's very.
I feel like people sense that too.
Yeah.
If you're authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
People sense that through the music.
Exactly. So
sounds kind of cheesy, but I believe
for sure.
that.
So it's just, I guess, the last little bit. Not that I'm accomplishing that, but I'd like to think that that's definitely the forefront now. Just doing some stuff that I'm really into, and if it doesn't connect anymore, I'm not fussed. Do you know what I mean? In the nicest possible. I just want to still always will be in the studio making music. So just grateful for platforms to release that, basically. Still
100%. Yeah.
And we all just keep drilling away. Do you know what I mean? We love making club bangers. We'll always make club tunes, and we just, if you make club tunes, you just got, like Hugh says, just keep drilling away, innit?
Keep drilling away. Keep drilling away, bro.
The red light sort of school of thought, do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think we're going anywhere. We're here to stay.
Yeah.
Keep drilling it out.
He's just like, on to the next one. Keep drilling away, mate. On to the next one. I'll tell you what, sharing the studio, having him in like the London sort of studio was just like pearls of wisdom, because I've known him for like many years. So yeah, he's definitely the Mr. Motivator.
Shout out to Red Light.
Shout out to
man.
Redders.
But yo, man, thanks for coming.
Of course.
Thanks for coming
nice
on,
one.
Benny.
Nice one for
Appreciate
being
it,
here,
man.
of course. With
Great to have you in Los Angeles.
The old guard, isn't it?
Yeah, truly.
The old firm.
Dude, I still got a CD of our session, like from like.
Bruv.
Dude, I still have
We
the
did that in Nils in
I still have
Hackney.
the CD, dude, with the like.
Pull that out.
stem.
What I was talking about actually earlier, when we did that Gold Digger tune, we did that in Neil's place in Hackney.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the place that we did that first session.
Right,
Remember in
right.
his like, old little sort of bedroom,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you have the CDs.
Treasured.
Cool. All right.
It's been great having you on Night Based Energy. We talk to you all the time,
Yeah,
but
of course.
now we're talking to each other on microphones
Yeah.
and recording
Yeah.
it. Hopefully people will like it.
Yeah. Sick.
Cool.
All right.
Cool. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.